afternoon, everyone. Another day. Today we're just gonna, it's gonna be another short one, but being that Mother's Day is coming up, I want to obviously say something about mothers. Mother's Day is coming up on Sunday. It's a time that we get to honor our mothers, especially some of us whose mothers are still living. Fortunately, mine is still living. And so, even though I won't get to see her, I'll be able to call her. But yeah, so mothers, obviously an important part of society. In any society, you need a father and a mother. So obviously it's the backbone of society. I'm a firm believer in the two-parent home. I am not a believer in a one-parent home. I understand sometimes it happens. But the ones that are done on purpose, it's ridiculous. All you're doing is hurting your child. But I understand there are some cases where, it happens. And you just do the best you can. So I get it. But, we're honoring the mothers that are doing the job, whether they're single or have a father, helping out, mother helping, a father or a husband helping out, boyfriend, whatever. We want to honor our mothers this weekend, do what we can for them, because we don't know how long we'll have them, especially, like I said, for us that our mothers are still living. So, it behooves of us to continue to honor our mothers. The Bible tells us to honor our parents. The Bible mandates that we honor our parents, that we may live long. That's what I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what it's saying. It's saying that when we honor our parents, we'll live long. And so, as children, we need to honor our parents. And so, this weekend, we honor mothers. And it's a very important day. It's an important day because some mothers don't get any accolades. Some mothers don't get any credit. Society is such now where society doesn't believe in the nuclear family. That it prides itself on single parent homes, especially single parent women homes. Very few single fathers. There are some out there, but they're not concerned with the single fathers. They're only concerned about single mothers. And it's unfortunate because the child has a better chance of being successful when they're in a two-parent home, mother and the father. Obviously, y'all know how I feel about same-sex couples and if they're raising kids. Obviously, I don't agree with it. And that's a whole nother issue. But we're talking about mothers, the ones that gave birth. Okay, talking about them. We're talking about mothers. Talking about mothers. So we want to honor them this weekend. Obviously, without mothers, obviously we wouldn't be around because the mothers are the ones that give birth to us. Obviously it takes two to tango, and obviously you need a man to have a baby. Though with even with technology, you still need the sperm from the male to make babies, even in vitro. So the man is still an important part of the equation. But again, the mother is who gives birth. And has to endure, approximately 9 months of pregnancy. But again, that's a mother's role. That's the women's role, is to give birth to children. We as men can't do that. We're not biologically able to do this. So that's why mothers are so important. That's one of their roles, not the only role, but I would argue the most important role is not only giving birth to the future of the species. I would argue is the most important role. Then next, of course, is being a mother. And so we honor our mothers on this weekend, on this upcoming Mother's Day. I honor my wife, who's the mother of my 3 sons. And so, and honor my mother, who gave birth to me and my brother. So we cannot, and I can't stop re-emphasizing the fact that mothers are very important in society. They're not more or less important than fathers. Each one of us has a role. A father has a role and a mother has a role. And when we carry out our roles, we'll have great children. And the problem with society is that mothers and fathers aren't carrying out their roles. One, they're not being mothers or fathers, and they're not either or neither are raising their children. Hence, we have children in the foster system or being raised by step parents or grandparents or other family members. So not everybody is ready to be a parent, and not everybody is ready to be a mother. You have to be ready. Mentally, you have to be ready to be able to be a mother. A mother is a full-time job amongst the other jobs that we do. A lot of mothers not only are raising their children, but working full-time jobs, especially in these days and ages. Back in the day when I was born, my mother didn't have to work. She stayed at home and raised me and my brother. She didn't start working until after we left the house because she got bored. Mothering is a full-time job. Just like being a wife is a full-time job. Mothering is a full-time job. And it's a very important job. And whether you have sons or daughters, they need their mothers. And we know sons are closer to their mothers and daughters are closer to their fathers. I don't have any girls. I don't have any daughters, so I don't know. I'll never know that experience. Unless I have a granddaughter. But, it's a very important role, a very important work that women do. Again, I would argue the most important role is giving birth to the future. I would argue the most important role of a woman is giving birth to a child. Because giving birth makes sure that the species keeps living on. Not just your family, not just your bloodlines, but that the species continues to flourish. Any species, whether it's the human species or mammals or reptiles or birds or whatever, have to propagate to further the species. And when we stop propagating and having children, then we're dying. I would argue that we're, as a species, we're not propagating like we used to. We're not having as many children. And in some countries, the populations are dying. Especially like in Japan. The population is getting so old, and the Japanese population aren't having enough kids to keep up. So hence the population is dying off. Same with the Chinese, when they imposed that limit on how many kids you could have. And I understand they're trying to reverse it. I don't know if the Japanese are, but it's too late. You had years and years and years of self-imposed limits on how many children families can have, but yet your population is getting older and older. So hence these Asian countries are suffering, whereas African and Hispanic populations are growing because they're having multiple kids. Even European societies are suffering from not having enough children, or just having one child. And again, I understand that you can't, that having children is a financial burden. So I understand why people aren't having, as many children as they used to even 20, 30 years ago. When I look back on my family tree and I see my great-grandmothers and aunts and whatnot, cousins, the women in the family back in the 1800s having 10, 12 kids. That was commonplace. But then, of course, the financial burden wasn't the same. A lot of my family members in my family line, in my direct family line, were farmers. Some of them had small businesses, but most were farmers. Or raised animals. Again, some of them had small businesses, blacksmiths or little shop owners, but most were farmers. And so, hence, they were growing their own food. They weren't relying on others to provide them the things that they needed to raise their children. So, hence, they could raise large families. Nowadays, you have to have the financial means. You have to have the financial means to be able to have children. In a lot of cases. And so, you have to take that into account. That you got to take that into account. That, all right, how many children can we have? Are we going to be financially able to have 1, 2, 3, 4, however many children? But if you look at it from a spiritual perspective, the Bible tells us to be fruitful and multiply. It didn't give us a number. So, and I knew a couple like this that they just kept having children until the Lord told them to stop. There's a couple on YouTube. I think they're on their 9th or 10th child. He's obviously financially able to take care of all those children because she doesn't work. Well, she does YouTube, so she gets money from YouTube, and she might have her own little business. but she's been raising kids almost ever since she got with her husband. And so, he's the breadwinner. And they just recently moved from Florida to Texas, I believe. I mean, and they're blessed. They are blessed, and they just believe that the Lord, that the Lord will provide. And I have no problems with that either. I think when you look at it from that point of view, which is what all saints and Christians should do, you have the, you do have the freedom to say, I'm only going to have one child or however many, and that's okay and that's fine. But there are some that just believe that they're going to continue to have children until the Lord either clamp up the womb or just say stop. And again, I know couples that have done that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have no issues with that. That's fine. For us, we really only wanted 2, but we ended up with 3. And then after that, my wife's like, no, I'm not having any more. And that's her. And that was, I wasn't going to force my wife to continue to have kids. That's just not me. That's not me. And so I respected my wife, and she said, no, that's it. That's it. There's no regrets. I have 3 awesome sons, and I have, the only regret I have is I didn't have a girl. That's the only regret I didn't have, is I didn't have a girl. I really wanted a girl. I grew up with a brother, so I never was blessed to have a sister. My parents just had the 2 of us, and I really wanted a girl. I really wanted a daughter, because again, daddy's little girl. You have that image, daddy's little girl, and I always wanted that. I didn't get it, so that would be my only regret. Not the number, but that I didn't have the girl. But I had 3 healthy sons. As a man, that's important because they carry on the name. So I have 3 sons that will carry on the name if they have children, and I pray they do. They find the right woman and they have a family and have children. That's important to guys, is to carry on the name. My brother's not married, nor will he have kids, so it was on me. It was on me. The pressure was on me. As the oldest, it was on me. And I hate that. I wish my brother would have got married and had kids. I'd have some, nieces and nephews. But, it is what it is. He decided not to, get married and have children. And so, that's fine. That's his choice. God gave us that freedom to choose. He doesn't force us to do stuff. That's not God's way. God's way is not to force people to do things. God's way is to, He gives us the choice. Because if y'all forgive me, I'm driving, and these folk aren't driving right. If He forced us to do anything, then we wouldn't have the issues we'd have. If God forced us to be saved, then there would be no testimony, there'd be nothing. But because He gives us that freedom to choose, when we do accept Him, then we have that testimony. But anyways, back to mothers. It's just very important that we honor our mothers, especially us that are married, that we honor our spouse for giving us the children that we have. Obviously, as a husband and a father, I obviously had a hand in it, but it's important that we honor our mothers. It's very important. And even though my wife is not my mother, she's the mother of my sons. And so I have to honor her on Mother's Day because she's the mother of my sons. Now, for Mother's Day, my sons take the lead. It's their mother. They're taking the lead. I obviously get my wife a gift and I honor her. But Mother's Day is driven by my sons. That's your mama. Okay? So I have made sure that my sons on Mother's Day make sure they take the lead in honoring her for Mother's Day. Again, obviously I'm going to honor her because she gave me 3 sons. But it's Mother's Day. And I want my boys to understand the importance of honoring their mother. So that's why they take the lead. And same with Father's Day. My wife has them take the lead. She's obviously going to honor me as father, being a father to the sons that she bore. But I'm not her father. Her father has passed away. And so now on Mother's Day, my sons will honor my wife. Tomorrow, my wife will honor her mother and take her out and do things with her. But Mother's Day, my sons will be taking the lead in that. And it's important that I raise my sons that way. To say, hey, it's important that you honor your mother. Okay? It's important. Very important. And so I taught them to do that. And my wife taught them to honor me on Father's Day. And so that's how we taught our boys. And so far, they've done a great job. But yeah, let's honor our mothers on today. Let's be nice. Let's be respectful. Let's celebrate them. Motherhood is a difficult job, and not everybody's up to the task. All women have been created to be mothers, but not everybody's up to the task, whether due to personal choice, life circumstance, or whatever it may be, physical impairment, whatever it might be. Women have been created to be mothers, but not every woman is ready to be a mother or can be a mother, again, due to those other factors. But every woman has been created to be a mother and to give birth to children and to propagate the species. That's a woman's role, amongst many others. Giving birth, being a mother, and being a wife are the 3 most important roles a woman can play in society. Again, women can do other roles, but those are the 3 most important. And every step of the way, we need to encourage them, honor them, and celebrate them. Because some women don't want to be that. But if they have support, and they know they're being supported, and they know they're not doing it by themselves, that they have that great husband and father to help them. And if for whatever reason they get separated, divorced, or the spouse dies, or whatever it might be, if that person is still being the father that they're supposed to be, then it makes it easier. And it makes it so much easier when you have help, when you have support. And I'm not talking about just giving somebody money, because money is we know money answered all things, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a solution. Or that it's the right thing, or I should say not the right thing, or the only thing that you should want, if you're not together or you're estranged or whatever the case may be. The world has put these things in place that really is detrimental to the nuclear family. Divorce is entirely is just entirely too common. Divorces has been proven ruin families. Not in every case, obviously, but in most cases, it has a detrimental effect on the family. And so, let's make sure that we do right by our mothers. And we should be doing this every day. Again, I don't get into all this, commercialism that come with Mother's Day, because we should be honoring our mothers every day. It's like we should be honoring our wives. I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, because I should be doing that to my wife every day, or as much as possible. Why would I only do it one time a year? That's ridiculous. So I don't get into that. It's a commercial holiday. Mother's Day and Father's Day are commercial holidays too, but at least they have meaning, because we should be honoring our mothers and fathers. Valentine's Day is just it's a joke of a holiday. It's just a commercial thing. That's all it is. And I don't celebrate. Same with Halloween. Same with, Thanksgiving. Christmas has a spiritual component to it, but it's definitely turned into a commercial holiday as well. And that's fine if that's what you like. That's fine, whatever. But I think these type of holidays we should be doing all the time, not just waiting to the day of. But if you're going to do it right. So do Mother's Day right, and make sure you honor your mother on Sunday, or do the whole weekend, however you do it. But make sure you do it right. If you're going to do something, do it right. And I know she'll appreciate it. All right, I'll end it there. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment. If you want to leave a comment on what you're going to do for Mother's Day, that'd be awesome. Any ideas for future content, leave it down below. Again, I appreciate each and every person that takes the time out to watch these videos, takes the time to leave a reaction, and definitely appreciate the ones that have subscribed. Don't take anything for granted. Appreciate small beginnings, and I'm very thankful to each and every one. So until next time, God bless you.